Hi guys, Everyday Knife Guy here with a video. I'm not sure if I should call it a SAK video, but I guess it technically is. Today we're going to be looking at a new knife in the world of Swiss Army knives, and that is this one here, obviously, the Swiza D01. I just received this in the mail the other day, and I was actually going to wait a little while longer before doing a review or a video on it, but there was a few people asking on Instagram what my thoughts were when the review was coming, so I figured I'd just go ahead and at least make a first impressions video to give you guys something to go on. So these I think came out in fall of last year, and seemed to have received a pretty mixed response. A lot of people quite digging the new styling, some not so much. And yeah, these are made by the brand Swiza, which is, as I understand it, quite an established Swiss watchmaker and clockmaker. They've been around for over a century and pretty established in that market, and they are now looking to break into the Swiss knife market. So I'm guessing that's fairly lucrative, and if they can compete with the giant that is Victorinox, then they could do quite well, I suppose. So I've got two Victorinox here on the table to compare it to. This is the D01 model. So before we get looking at this, I think we should pull up the Swiza website here and just show you a little bit about that. So this is what you have. Swiza knives, this is the D01 model, which is the one I have, and you can see right away the tool set there. We'll look at the blue one that I have. It's a very simple knife. It's just a main blade, an awl, corkscrew and tweezers. But there are four different models. The 02 changes the corkscrew for 3D Phillips. The 03 is back to the corkscrew, but it adds a can opener and cap lifter plus other little tools on there such as flathead and so on. And the fourth option, D04, is a 3D Phillips again, same tool set. So you've got basically just two variations, but the back tool changes from corkscrew to Phillips and so on. So that's the range currently. Prices, as you can see, are in Swiss francs, of course, which is currently at the time of filming 1-to-1 with the US dollar. So around about $30 and up to high 30s. So between $30 and $40 for these. And we'll talk a little bit about how competitive that is in a minute. You can see there's four colorways on all of them. I wasn't too sure. I quite fancied the black, but it's a little bit boring, so I went with something different. Went with the blue, which turns out I actually quite like. What else there's to look at on here? If you look at products, oops, you can see there's a range of other things down the side here. So there's our watches, for example, some leather goods, various stuff. Bags and backpacks, luggage, all sorts of stuff. So knives, I think, is a new thing for them, and yeah, interesting to see another competitor in the marketplace. Obviously Victorinox took over Wenger quite some time ago now, so in terms of quality, actually Swiss made products, the market is pretty sparse, so good to see someone else trying to break into that and make some variety. So let's take a look at this knife first of all. This is D01, as I said. The overall form is a little bit different from the usual Swiss Army knife. You can see it has a slight curve to it. The scales themselves have a soft kind of feel. I'm trying to think how to describe it. It's somewhere between the feel of a Celador scale and the kind of soft, slightly giving touch of maybe like car leather or something like that. It's got a, you know, just a kind of not fuzzy feel, but it definitely feels not totally smooth and almost slightly soft, although there is really no give to it when you press. Quite a nice feel to it, reasonably grippy, I would say. And the overall profile of this knife is quite nice and slim, as you can see. It's really only one layer and two tools on this side, as we looked at, the knife and the awl and the corkscrew on the back. There is no toothpick, of course, but there are tweezers, and they are housed in the end here. Pull those out there, and these are all metal. You can see just two pieces of metal basically riveted together there, and yeah, fairly comparable, I would say, to Victorinox tweezers. They have an angled end on them as well. So that's the tweezers. We'll take a look at the other tools now as well. Those go in and out there fairly easily. Oops, if I put them in the right way. Bear with me, guys, I have just had this knife a couple of days. So yeah, those slot down in there quite nicely, flush with the end. So let's take a look at the other tools on the back here. Corkscrew. I should say this knife wouldn't be my #1 choice. Obviously I would have loved one of the ones with the 3D Phillips, because that's generally more useful, and even the thicker knife with the cap lifter and can opener would have been preferable. But These are fairly new out. They're quite hard to come by in my experience, and I had to order this from Germany via eBay, and this was the only one they had available at the time, so I jumped on it. I paid a little bit more than the retail probably, but I did want to try one out as soon as possible. Over on the other side we have the awl. I'm leaving the knife for last here, and it is quite sharp on this edge, nice piercing point, and it has a little in theory sewing eye there, I guess. Not particularly useful. Now one thing I should note, and you can see it right there, is that there's not really very much snap on the tools. It snaps open okay, you can hear that, but as it closes it's more of a dull thud, and you don't really feel in the same way with the Victorinox that nice positive feeling as it goes back into the housing. It's just not there. There's not enough tension on the spring, I would say. But let's move on to the main blade and see how that goes. So as this opens, reasonably good snap there. You can see on the tang of the blade, Swiss made. So it is a genuine Swiss knife. And on the other side there's this product marking, I think. And you can see the blade's a little bit scratched up already from the use that I've given it. And you can see there quite a cool looking little nail nick with actually Swiza engraved in there as well. I quite like that. A little bit different than the usual. It is a bit of a catcher for foodstuffs and so on if you're slicing anything, but no more so than a normal nail nick, I would say. Let's just compare that to the one on this compact here. So you can see it really is quite a bit larger than a typical Victorinox nail nick, and actually really easy to get a hold of. You can pretty much use a pinch grip on this to open it rather than just your nail, which I quite like. I think that's pretty cool, and there's no reason why it can't be a bit more showy than the standard style you have on here. So that's good. You can see when the knife's open, it has much more of a curve to it than a traditional Swiss Army knife. So ergonomics are really pretty good. The tapering on the rear of the handle means your fourth finger gets a purchase on here. So you get a really nice grip on it actually. If I look at that compared to this suddenly feels pretty uncomfortable compared to holding the soft touch. I keep saying soft touch, it's not soft touch, but it feels softer, more giving than the Celador. The soft touch material combined with that curve means it feels really good in the hand and quite comfortable, and your thumb just naturally comes up onto the blade to use it as a thumb wrap. So that's quite good. Normally, of course, you don't want to be leaning on the back of your slip joint Swiss Army knife, but in this case you can lean on it as much as you want because this is a locking blade, and I never even realized that before I bought it. I didn't have much time to do research, I just knew that I wanted to try one. Went ahead and pulled the trigger and found out I actually bought a locking knife, not a slip joint. Because in the middle here you can see, if I get it to focus, we have 100% engagement on the locking tab there. Now my second schoolboy error was once I found it was locking and wouldn't close, I thought, well, how do I disengage this locking leaf? So you can stick your nail in there and push it back, but that is really uncomfortable and not very easy. So I was thinking, well, that's a bit crap, isn't it? But then I found that this Swiss cross here feels a little bit more giving than the rest of the scales, and that is because it actually disengages your lock. If you can see that there. Press on the button, disengages the lock, close the knife. It's almost got enough of a nail nick there, you could almost use it as a spidey hole, but not quite, but you can certainly get a nice pinch on it. Open it up, press the button, close it down. Isn't that nice and simple? And really nice little system actually. I don't know if that's a bit of a gimmicky thing, but I quite like the way that the button has been used like that, and the logo's been used as the button, and I hope that's something they stick with, because if people see it enough and use it enough, I think it will become quite popular, and I definitely like that. And I like the fact it's a locking blade, although of course that does create some issues depending on where you live, so in terms of legality obviously. So overall design I think is pretty cool. I think one of the issues people have is they think this looks a little bit tacky. The beauty of Victorinox is it has a real classic look, partly just because it's been around so long, and partly because it's a very simple design, very understated. These are definitely trying to be a bit more flashy. You look at the colours, there's an all white one, bright red, and this bright blue. Now, I wasn't sure about the blue before I received it, but I actually really like it. It's a nice bright, I guess a bright cyan blue, and I think it suits it. I don't think it looks too tacky. It certainly feels fairly good quality in the hand, and that goes a long way to making you think that, you know, you bought a quality product, which of course you should for $30. You bought a quality product and not some cheap knockoff in a flashy color. So overall quality seems good. The only real issues I have would be where this locks up on the blade. There is a bit of vertical blade play. I don't know if you can see that. If you look at just the point of the scale there, you can probably see this going up and down slightly. There's very little to none side to side, so that's good. Overall fit and finish seems excellent. I was going to try and show you. I haven't quite figured this out yet. Where's the bit I'm looking for? Yeah, around here on the back. I don't know if this will focus. You see that little slot or hole there? That, I think, is so you could actually put a lanyard or a ring through there. I haven't tried it yet. You could probably put a split ring through there as your tether point. I'm assuming that's what that's for. I haven't checked online to see if there's anything or anyone else talking about that. So there you have it. So why should you spend $30 on a Swiza? The name's something I have a bit of an issue with. It does sound a bit tacky, but you know, there's not much thing to do about that. It's been around for 100 years, so so why would you spend $30 on a Swiza as opposed to, for example, this knife, which is a Victorinox Compact, and this currently on Amazon.com is $30. So these are directly comparable in price. Well, this one's $29, this is $29.64 or something. So pretty much directly comparable in price. The Compact is a little bit thicker, and I'm using this. I know this is a 2-layer, but I'm using this because I pretty much see this as the standard for small Victorinox in terms of functionality and you know, usefulness. This has scissors, knife, cap lifter, count opener, both on the combo tool, obviously. The same corkscrew, eyeglass screwdriver, hook. It's got so much stuff. It's got a pen, it's got tweezers, toothpick. You know, this totally outclasses this knife in terms of functionality. It's the same price. It's from an established brand. You can get different scales if you wanted to you know, jazz it up a bit. Why would you choose this over this? Well, this has a locking blade, of course. It does feel quite a lot more ergonomic for if you're mainly carrying it as a secondary blade to use for cutting tasks. And it's a bit different, isn't it? It's you know, if you already own a bunch of Victorinox, well, it can be fun to branch out. So there's that aspect of what are you getting. You could go with the D04 for higher $30, and that will get you obviously the cat lifter, can opener, all this stuff, plus you can get the 3D Phillips instead of that if you wanted. That's a pretty well featured knife, I'd say, but getting on for being quite expensive compared to other Victorinox options. The other Victorinox I have here is the Waiter, which is probably the most directly comparable. That's why I have it on the table. You see it's slightly shorter. What are these again? 84mm. Slightly shorter knife, slightly thinner, probably about the same. A little lighter, but fairly comparable. Sorry, that's my furnace kicking in the background. Cold day here. Blade a little smaller. Does have corkscrew. Let's just have a look at those in comparison. Not something I use very much, or really anyone uses very much these days due to the prevalence of screw top bottles, I think. A little bit bigger, more beefy corkscrew on the Swiza for sure. And of course this also has the combo tool on the back, whereas this just has the awl, so that's definitely would be more useful for me. There is no bottle opening or cap lifting ability on this model, or the D02, so that's a little bit of a drawback, I would say, but it depends what you're into and what you use your knife for. Maybe you use this in your EDC just as a backup blade and you have a dedicated cap lifter separately. I don't know. There's also no ability on this obviously for screwdriving, for flathead screwdriver. That's a little bit of a drawback too. Again, it depends on what you use your knives for, how you would, if you carry a Swiss Army knife commonly, what model you carry and what you use on it. But if you're only looking for sort of light use or mainly for a backup blade, then I certainly could recommend this. I think the quality is good, the fit and finish is nice, I think the looks are good, and as I say, if you're using mostly cutting tasks, I think the ergonomics are pretty excellent. So I think that's about it for now, guys. Can't really think of anything to add. I'd like to see these come out in more different colors, maybe something a little bit more understated. I think that would look awesome in an olive green or an earth brown, something like that. I would probably be more popular with the crowd that would traditionally buy Victorinox. But certainly a bit more of a modern take on the Swiss Army knife, and great to see another player in the market. Last thing I should touch on before I go is packaging. The Swiza came in this. It had actually broken in transit. There should be a little tab on there to close the box, obviously. Comes in this little package here. That's where it came from. And you can see behind there maybe Swiza D01 in blue, and product code behind that label. Every day can be an adventure, apparently. Authentic Swiss knife made in Switzerland. They are rightfully so proud of that, I would say. We know in this day and age where most products are, unfortunately, in terms of quality, made in China. It's fair enough to advertise made in America or made in Switzerland. I think that is something to be proud of, and goes some way to justifying premium pricing and so on. So that's what that comes in. I would personally prefer this. Again, more understated, more classic, simpler Victorinox packaging. This one came off my Adventure, and I do prefer this, but at the end of the day it's not a big deal. We're not buying these sort of knives for premium packaging or extras. They're just for their function and for collectability and so on. Collectability on this obviously is fairly low at the moment because there aren't many others, but I think over time, if they can establish a foothold, hopefully they'll bring more knives to market. And you know, with kind of the design philosophy of this and how they've changed it up, they've obviously gone from the traditional blueprint and changed things up a little bit and tried to put their own spin on it. I think that's quite exciting, and if they continue to do that, we could see some interesting stuff. You know, if they're not afraid to go out and be a little bit different than the standard traditional Wenger or Victorinox models. I'd definitely like to see a stronger spring. Let me show you the knife closing. There's really not a lot of pull there at all. Yeah, really not that great. Same on the awl. I'd like to see stronger springs for sure. A little bit better lockup would be nice, and the colours. But other than that, pretty impressed. Weight-wise, between this and the compact here is pretty comparable. So a little bit heavier duty maybe inside in the liners and so on in this. If we look there, yeah, it looks very much the same, or even slightly slimmer. Perhaps the scales in this are a little heavier than the Celador, I'm not sure. But I'd say fairly comparable in weight. So that's it, guys. That's the first look at the Swiza D01. I certainly won't have too many reservations about picking up other knives from them. We'll probably wait until the range refreshes and there's maybe some new options. I'm probably not going to spend nearly $40 US on the 03 or 04 just to gain the cat lifter and can opener, but certainly this hasn't turned me off from the brand, so hopefully that gives you enough information to make your own purchasing decision. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back with more videos soon. Have a great day.